Welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of my podcast. I'm excited to be here today. I am laughing because there are ironies that come with ADHD, and I'm just recognizing one, and that is giving yourself, myself, positive feedback, positive self-talk. Not criticism, but compassion, telling yourself you're doing just fine, all those things. I'm laughing because I just started this podcast. Well, I always do a few, hello, welcome, see how I do, see how the sound sounds, see if I mess up on my words. But I made one, I saw a few flaws. I started thinking, am I even saying the right thing? I was giving myself self-criticism as I started to talk to you about letting go of self-criticism. It comes constantly. It can come constantly. It is more of a go-to for our brains to feel rejected and to invite that in or to let that stick than it is to stay in a place of feeling positive and supporting yourself. Why is this? Why is this? Well, let's see. Let's read about it. I'm going to read about it because I have some notes here, but I just lost my notes. Where did they go? Somehow I expanded this. Okay, here I go. Okay. So, when you have an ADHD brain, it is possible that you have brain wiring that makes you more prone to being sensitive, that makes you more prone to feeling like you need to do things a certain way and feeling bad about yourself, feeling rejected, having that sensitivity whether it's actual RSD, rejection sensitive dysphoria, or you just perceive failure more often than others. And all of this can lead to criticism. You are seeing yourself maybe in an inaccurate light, just like people who have body dysmorphia, where they look in the mirror and see themselves. And you might be thinking, I've done that before, or I tend to do that. I don't know how common it is or how rare it is, but it seems like a lot of people see themselves differently than others do. You see a picture of yourself and you just think, oh, like, why can't I take a good picture? That's such a bad angle, this or that. See yourself in an outfit in the mirror and think, oh, it doesn't look good on me. And you're seeing something that maybe isn't what everyone else is seeing. Part of that is because you might be more critical of yourself than others are. You might have a standard that's unreasonable, not accurate. And I'm just talking body right now because that's an easy thing to measure of I'm not as tall as this person, my legs aren't as long as that person's, or I'm not as this as that person. It's really interesting when you hear what somebody else thinks about themselves that they worry about. Might be the shape of their eyebrows, or my lips are too thin, or whatever it is. And you think, I never would have thought that about you. I like your eyebrows. I like you realize that the the brain that they live in is different than what anybody else is seeing. What they worry about, and you might do the same thing. You might think, I don't like the way this looks, or I don't like the way that looks. You might listen to your voice and think, I don't like the way my voice sounds. Have you ever thought that? It used to be more common when people used to have tape recorders. I mean, now everyone has a phone, so you know what your voice sounds like. But it used to be kind of a surprise when you had a tape recorder and then you heard your voice and it's like, oh, I sound so nasally, or all those things that sounded different. And maybe it wasn't a good quality tape recorder, who knows? But I remember thinking that. I remember seeing pictures of myself years ago in college and thinking, why didn't anybody tell me my hair looked like that? Like, I didn't know it was so thin. I didn't know it was so this. I didn't know. And nobody else was worried about it but me. So you might have a perception of yourself that you're more sensitive to or that's not accurate. And you need to find a way to fight that so that you're not criticizing yourself all the time or not feeling down. You might also feel more expectations. Societal pressure for women can be to be organized. My home is so organized. I'm such a good cook. I'm on top of everything. I can do it all. There's the idea of, can you do it all? Yes, you can do it all. Maybe a few people can do it all. My belief is that no one can do it all. That anybody who's doing it all with my quote fingers, there's something falling apart. There has to be. No one can do it all. We're just humans. We all have 24 hours in the day and we need to sleep some of that time. We need some downtime. We can't go full force all the time. So I don't really believe everyone can do it all. So, when you hear about everyone's successes, you're not seeing the whole picture, right? And not that we want to see people have problems too, or fail, or things that fall apart. But when we measure ourselves, or we have an expectation, or we feel the need to be able to have dinner cooked every day instead of telling yourself that a smoothie is okay. Here's my smoothie. It has so many fruits in it and vegetables and powders and proteins and things. But yeah, maybe a warm, hot meal would be good for dinner, but that's probably going to be my dinner. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm not having that expectation. I let go of that expectation a long time ago to have a dinner. If that was what we did in our family, if we were doing that and I got tired of doing it, maybe people take turns cooking dinner. Somebody else likes cooking dinner more, or maybe I love it. There's times that I do love it, or there used to be times that I loved it. I'm trying to think of a time now that I love it. It's not quite there anymore. But having that idea that you need to be a certain way can also make you more critical of yourself. Like, I couldn't even do this. Other people do that. Why can't I do this? Well, there might be a reason you can't do that. It might be an actual physical reason with your brain, your body, your life, your circumstances, whatever. Let yourself feel supported instead of criticized. Don't add that weight to yourself. Or if you have other challenges, like, why do I forget this? Why do I get overwhelmed? Why do I have a day when I have a lot of time to do something and I didn't do anything? I didn't do any of the things that I wanted to do. You can look at that and just criticize, 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 or you can look at it, give yourself grace. You could look at it as, what can I do differently if I don't want it to be that way again? But feeling awful about yourself, telling yourself that you're a loser, what's wrong with me, any of those things, if you've ever had that come across your brain, or this isn't good enough, I can't do this, all of that. That could be your reality of what the tendencies are in your brain. And if you think about things that other people have told you in your life, you've probably had some compliments. And you might remember some of those compliments. Somebody told me this once. I didn't know that about myself. And it might be something that a lot of people recognize about you and you don't see it. So when you hear those compliments, give them to yourself again. Not that you have to just live off of everyone's compliments all the time, but try to see yourself in that light that other people do, because you can't see yourself all the time, right? Also, think about when people have criticized you, if they've been critical or they've insulted you or said something that was hard to hear, that can stick with you longer, because things that hurt do hurt. They can take a while to heal. And no, not everyone's going to love and adore us, and not everyone's going to be kind. But if you think about how impactful that can be to hear unkind words, critical words from other people, it also causes damage within yourself. It causes damage within yourself. So you don't want to keep giving yourself messages. You need to catch yourself, like I did when I kept second guessing myself, when I was actually had the sound, everything, the setup here ready to go. And I'm saying that as I check, is it really going? Is the audio really going? Because I've got audio and video going on two different computers. But when you stop yourself and tell yourself, it gets in the way of being able to do what you need to do. I used to do that when I first started making yoga videos. If I am teaching a live class and there's people there, I go on, I say hello, and I start teaching. I don't even think about, is this right or good or not? I mean, I might fumble. Like today, I taught a hot yoga class with real people in a real room and stuff. And this is a room, but it's a room for recording. So, but I was teaching this class and I messed up on some words. It wasn't just like the left side and the right side. I was trying to say bring the back foot to the front, but I kept saying bring the front foot to the back, but our foot was back. So I caught it, but then when I went to say it right, I said it the same way I said it the first time. Even though my brain knew I said it wrong and my brain knew what it needed to say. And if I was making a recording, I probably would have thought, nope, not perfect. Why did I mess that up? Yeah, I'm 20 minutes into class, but I'm going to start over. It's not good enough. That's not real life. Real life is mistakes happen. And when we're living our lives and mistakes happen, we need to recognize other people have their challenges. These are mine. And here I go. Here I go. Oh, yeah. And even just, I was thinking about this today, even just looking at, yeah, it might be this bad at this time, but look at when it gets better. Sometimes it's kind of funny because because if you've ever had things that you dread doing, you need to do, but you don't get working on. And it might be for a week, it might be for a month, it might be for years. Like I told you with my podcast, I wanted to do this for at least 5 years before I ever made a recording. I would say more like 6 or 7, but I didn't actually count. But if you have something that you can't get yourself to do for whatever reason, you might make efforts, but you can't get yourself to do. And my best way of describing it is I can't wrap my head around it. There's probably a scientific way. There's the brain wiring's a little frayed and it's just not happening, or I haven't found a way to calm myself or ignore the other things going on in my life to do that. And that was recently with returns. I order things from Amazon and I return things from Amazon. I do it with other companies too, but that seems to be my big one. And they're good about returns. And they give you options. They give you a QR code. They give you a label. You can drop it off with the label on it. You can bring it in to scan at Whole Foods or UPS store and you get to choose which one. And it changes from time to time, but you get to know the system. It's not too complicated. But if you let those returns pile up, especially at Christmas time, and I have a theory, it's probably not that advanced, probably not that advanced of a theory, but I have a theory that at Christmas time, the reason that they give you 2 months, 3 months to do returns instead of 30 days, if 30 days is their policy, I don't know exactly what their policy is because some stores it's 30, sometimes 60. I think Target used to be 90. I'm a big return person. I've gotten used to, different policies and what they are, because when I'm not honoring it, that's when I'm told, well, this is past 90 days. And that's when I tend to learn what the day is, even though it's up on the board behind them. But I think at Christmas time, they do that partially so that you can shop early and not worry because they're not going to get that gift maybe for 2 months. If you're buying it now, even longer, right? Or Black Friday or whatever. And then Christmas comes, you might be traveling, you might not have time. You need time to return it, but I also think they hope you just kind of forget about it. And then the longer you wait, the more you think, "I've got all the time in the world," and you don't get it done. But since June, so what are we? We're September, June, July, August, September. So 3 months. Right now, Amazon has a 30-day policy, and I have known in the back of my mind, "You need to return this, you need to return this, you need to return this." And I'll see it, something that I need to return. It might be some shorts that I bought for hot yoga and they didn't fit right. Bought 2 sizes, neither fit right. So I'm going to send it back. A couple other things. This didn't work out. I'm going to send that back. I'm going to send that back. Well, time's gone by. And today I thought, you need to look. You need to at least look and see if you've lost access to the QR code because I have learned, and this isn't really a tutorial about Amazon, but it can be. I've learned that when the QR code says use this by this date, the QR code will still work past that date. And you can take it in and It might not be available on your app to see it, but if you print it out, it could still work. So I've learned that. And it's also usually available on the app on your phone after. But a lot of times I'll make a screenshot or something because I don't like to be the fumbling person in UPS looking through for the QR code. I'd rather use a little bit of paper, print out the QR code, and just tape it. Like I actually make a Google Doc. So this is where I'm going with this, is I go from not doing it all for 3 months to having a meticulous, hyper-focused system. And so once I saw today, you not only have 1 item, but 4 items that don't show the QR code anymore, and you didn't even go to the trouble of printing those out and taping them on before long ago. I just thought, "You have time, you have time, you have time." So and you think I'd learn because earlier in the year, I made another order, not with Amazon, went past the time, could not return the items, and bought more things than I needed. Some of them fit, but I just bought multiples to try on different sizes and colors. I'm learning what not to do because if I can't be organized about my returns, I can't make my closet a try on, what do you call it? A dressing room. I can't to send everything back. But back to this is I was laughing today because one, here I am in this situation. I wasn't laughing at first. It was like, oh no, this is one of those things. They call it the ADHD tax, where you're paying more in life. You're getting penalized for something that you couldn't stay on top of. Remember, there were a few of the returns that I didn't even know I hadn't returned. I thought, oh, I forgot about that. I thought I did return that. So I had those things, but I've also learned that customer service reps can be really nice. And if you call them and it's past the day, and they'll tell you, oh, it's past the return date. I can't do it in my system, which is the same thing we find out when we try it, right? But then they put you on hold for a while. And if you're patient, if you have the time, they, I would say I've never not received a late return. And one might think that might be why you let it go past the date. It isn't. It isn't. It's not because I know they'll let me later. It's just because I can't always wrap my head around doing something that's on my mind because I have other things to do. But I was able to get return codes. And one thing that was really great was they're actually giving me full value because I've had it where they haven't, where they say, yes, we can give you a refund, but it's 80% or 70% or something. So I thought there was, it was possible that there would be a penalty. And I don't know if I've shared this with you, but the farthest back return that I made on Amazon, and they were still currently selling it. And I think I did find the order in there somewhere. It was at least 2 years old. It might have been, I might have had it for 2 years or 3 years. And it was a podcast kit that I bought with a microphone, a little boom arm, maybe a windscreen, some kind of microphone kit that said it was rated good. But when I finally actually did make my podcast, I thought, I don't want to use that microphone. It was still new in the box. I did get a refund, but it wasn't full. It wasn't for the full amount. But they were still selling that model, so they could sell it again. I hadn't used it. I hadn't taken it out of the box, but I did have it for I think 3 years. So, but I was just kind of laughing today because I thought it'd be really easy to fall into the trap of criticizing myself and saying, "What is your problem?" Because I was kind of thinking that for a little bit of, here you are again. This is going to cost you money, and we can use the money for this instead. All that kind of stuff. Instead, I turned it into a positive one. And there was good outcomes. Not always a good outcome. Sometimes you lose money, but into a positive. Yeah, this happens. But look what else happens with ADHD. Now I'm making these little files. I've learned how to crop the little pictures of the screenshots of I was so in a little meticulous method. It's not like my method was perfect, but it was such a system. Was take the screenshot, write the item, put the little QR code, make it so I can fit 2 or 3, 3 or 4 QR codes on my Google Doc. Make it so I'm not wasting too much paper, but I can print it out, tape it on, da da da, and then I'll put them all in this bag. And I turned it into my little method. And then I became this productive person, which made me kind of laugh because I went from ultra non-productive to very hyper focused. And my son commented on this about a year ago because he had asked me if I could take some CDs that he grew up listening to when he went to bed at night, if I could take them and send them to him digitally. And I thought, I don't know, because things don't work the same. Like you can't just do Apple Music again. And I thought, I think there's a way to read it with a CD drive and put it in a Google Drive audio, but I don't know. And so every time I thought about it, I'd look into it a little bit and not find an answer, or try working on it a little bit and not find an answer. And then I'd forget about it. Or probably I forgot about it for 7 or 8 months before I even got as far as I just talked about. And then he'd ask me again, and I'd say, "Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry." And then I'd kinda go through that loop, loop, loop. I don't know if it was a whole year or what, but finally I said, "Okay, I'm gonna write myself a note, and I'm gonna try to figure this out." I figured it out, and once I did, I was writing to him and, "Are there any other CDs you want? Oh, I could actually do this one too. I could actually do this." And I didn't even realize what I was doing. I didn't recognize the pattern or anything, but he also has ADHD. He's the one that taught me that that I had ADHD. And he said, "It's been really funny watching this whole process with you," because he could recognize it, that it was forget, delay, uh, can't figure it out, can't even do it unless I can figure it out. Don't have the patience to sit down or the time, or there's some other things I need to do instead, see that go on and on and on. And then when I did do it, I wouldn't stop. So anything that you can look at as, why does this happen? If you can look at just the irony of it, maybe it can make you laugh. If you can look at, but there are some good things. I do need to give myself credit for when I do things well too, and give yourself that support. Even if you're a klutz, I don't know if you like that word or not. I know people don't like labels, but if you're clumsy, klutzy, if you trip all the time, if you fall all the time, and it can be frustrating, and you have bruises that you don't know where they come from, or you get injured, or this is one of those things that when I'm talking, I feel like I'm the only one because I'm kind of the only person I know with ADHD personally. Maybe my daughter's this way a little bit that does this like I do. But anyway, yeah, give yourself credit for when you don't fall, for all the times, for all the steps that you take without falling, because you could look at the other way. Like I think about it so many times. Like I'm trying to be careful. I'm trying to watch my step. And maybe you don't. Maybe you don't watch your step. If you're somebody who falls a lot, bumps into things, usually it takes a while to realize maybe I need to do this differently. You can't always do it differently, especially if you're impulsive, but you can try to have control when you are thinking about it. And that does prevent accidents. So give yourself credit for that. Pat yourself on the back because there are probably a lot of accidents that could have happened if you weren't mindful, and you were. So that's really good. But so, yeah. So our brains may be a little extra critical. Our brains may lead us to not be able to do things as dependably as what some people might call responsibly. Is it irresponsible? That's a question, right? Is it irresponsible if you forget? Not always, not always. It might look irresponsible to a lot of people, and they might not have the patience for it, or you might have a job where they can't depend on you because you're forgetting things, or you don't have a great attention to detail. That can help you realize, what should I do maybe as a career, or what should I do to not require myself to be able to have to pay attention to so many details? What can I do to help myself out? So each time that you have something that's not working, that's when you try to find a way through it. And if not, you have to have compassion. You have to have grace for yourself. You have to say, I'm not irresponsible. My brain can't remember everything, and that's okay. We know a lot of people can't learn the same. Not everyone can retain at all or the same. Some details may stick with you forever. The things that you're interested in, the things that you're paying attention to. That's one of the things that still kind of bugs me when I see those posts about It's not you're not attention deficit if you have ADHD, because that's what it literally says, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Um, and then they say you're paying attention to too many things. But you're still attention deficit. If you're paying attention to too many things, you might not be able to pay attention to the one thing, like when you step off of a curb and you trip. So there's still an attention deficit. That's my little, that's my little one little, like sliver that's in my foot that when people say things, sometimes they stick with me and I think I can't keep listening to the rest because I don't agree with that. To do that. Anyway, so what does negative self talk do to you? How do you feel when you're telling yourself negative things? What does it keep you from doing? Does it make it possible for you to do what you want to do if you don't have that courage? And I if you think about the times when you're around certain people and you have all the confidence in the world. I hope you have people in your life that you have all the confidence in the world. You don't have to think about what you're saying. You don't have to worry that what you're saying was the wrong thing, or you feel dumb about it, or not feel enough, or not have enough money, or whatever the things are that I'm not beautiful enough. All those not enoughs. You don't think about any of that because it's just comfortable. Like my old roommate said once, being around you is like putting on my most comfortable sweatshirt. It just feels cozy. It just feels good. And when you're in that realm of just feeling good, you're with a friend, you're walking on the beach, what could be better? You're just talking about things in life and you're not feeling any judgment and you're not giving yourself any judgment because you feel that relaxed. You might have some environments where you don't feel that relaxed, where you might worry about judgment from others and then you might judge yourself more. And you might say things like, I shouldn't have worn this. I'm wearing the wrong outfit. I should have dressed up more. I feel so stupid here. I should have worn nicer shoes. I don't know if you compare yourself like that when you go somewhere. If you just think, I'm glad I'm comfortable. I go back and forth. I love to be comfortable. I choose comfort, plain colors and comfort over fashion 100%. Not that I have money for fashion anyway, but I still have regrets when I go somewhere and I feel like I'm not dressed in a way that I could have been. And so then there's that battle. Well, do you want to come and be all uncomfortable in your boots or your whatever? So are you giving yourself this conversation in your head of why did I do this? What's wrong with me? Why didn't or what, maybe you're not even saying what's wrong with me, but I shouldn't have. And if you think of having an actual person there that's saying that many negative things to you, at some point you wouldn't want to be around them anymore. And you don't want to have that voice around you anymore either, even though it's coming from you. You want to have your voice be a supportive one. You want to feel as comfortable and confident and supported by your own voice as you would with someone that just loves you and doesn't have those expectations that you might have for yourself. So, any kind of doubts that you have in yourself, when you have criticism, whether it's external or internal, it reinforces that doubt. It makes you think, I'm not this, I'm not enough. There's something, I'm lazy, I'm forgetful, I'm not smart. Whatever it is that you're feeling down about, I don't fit in, whatever it is. As you say that to yourself, the more you reinforce that belief, the more that belief becomes a truth to you, and you don't want that. You want to have a positive experience in life and not have that negativity come in. And if you think about how you feel, go back to being with a friend, walking along the beach. Maybe you don't live near a beach. Go walking up and down your road in a park, wherever it is that you like to be. And when you're in that state of mind and you're just feeling that pure joy and relaxation, you have a very calm response in your body. You just are in this mode of serotonin is flowing. I just feel good. I'm just happy. And you're not in a stressful state. If you are worrying, if you're fearful, if you're doubting all these things, your body's going into a stress mode and you might even tighten up like, oh no. Have you literally ever tightened up before and just thought, I shouldn't be here? I shouldn't be doing this? I have. I have. And one of my greatest, and I don't say greatest moments like the greatest show on earth, but just like a big one that I remember, and a couple big ones, but one just because it was monumental for what I'm doing now. I'm a yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga. Did my first certification in 2014, so over 10 years, but I taught from at least 10 years before that. And when I stepped into that first training, I walked in, everyone was kind of crowded in the entry room where you sign in on the iPad to go in for class and stuff. And I looked around and I thought, the message that came through my head was, you don't belong here. You don't fit in. You're older than everyone. Um, you're probably not as good at yoga. You're probably not like all those things. And probably wasn't even one of the words coming into my mind. They were just all these, you can't be here. You're not good enough, which isn't my usual mode. I'm usually a confident person, but I completely went into a fearful mode right then. And my body just tensed up. And And I just thought, you already paid you already paid half part of your money for this course. You had to I think the training we had to pay in 4 payments or something. You can't just walk out of here. Then I had to have the voice of reason, like, "Come on, tough it out. You gotta do it." But that self-critic or that doubt or that fear, I think it was a fear, just kinda gripped my body and wanted to just hold on to it. And I don't know if you've ever heard, that having fear or worry is I don't know if this is actually true. I heard someone say this once, that that word, I think worrying, so that would be what we're doing. We're like, "We're worried about this. This won't work. I'm not blah, blah, blah." That it's in some language, and I think it was a Native American language, that it's like, the translation was like a wolf choking someone. Which we don't wanna think about that, right? But I just told you to think about it. But just think of, like, constricting, and that's what it feels like. You're like, "I can't breathe anymore." And that's why slow breathing is helpful, right? It's the opposite of that stress and that worry and that criticism. So we don't wanna shut down the parts of our beings, our emotional system that's healthy. We want to keep that strong. We don't want to have emotional regulation worse. We don't want to be so tense. When you're more stressed, you might not react as kindly to other people when they say things. Do you ever say something and think, oh my goodness, I wish I was in a calmer state right then because I was just so tired because of this. And then when they came and talked to me, it just wasn't the right time. And I wish I would have had a nicer response. Or when we are in a more stressful state, we aren't regulating our emotions. We aren't as controlled with our words. And so having compassion for yourself, noticing what's happening in your body, noticing what's happening with the messages going on in your brain because or in your mind. I don't know mind and brain what the difference is, but your mind has thoughts. You have the automated thoughts and you have the controlled thoughts. So you get to be a witness to the automated thoughts, and you can even witness the controlled thoughts too. But in my yoga classes, when I step back, so I'm like not really stepping back. So I might be doing some yoga pose or a little flow of different poses, and my brain starts going somewhere. I'm thinking about this. I'm wishing that I wasn't standing in this corner and that guy's mat's a little too close, or is this person looking at me? Because whatever's going on in my mind, if I notice it, it's like I've just heard these thoughts like they're almost like they're not mine, but I'm witnessing what I'm doing. Just like I can witness like, "Oh, I just lifted my arms up." I'm witnessing this thought process going on, and then I can either just go, "Yeah, let's join that conversation," and keep thinking about it and evaluate it for a while and decide, "Am I gonna leave or stay or da da da?" Or I can evaluate that thought process and decide if it's actually logical, if it's actually something I need to be thinking about. I can shut it down. I can just say, that's not what we're doing here. It doesn't really matter. That person doesn't care about you and you don't need to care about him. Just keep doing your yoga, whatever it is. And you can do that with whatever thought process is going on in your mind. Notice it, see if it's helpful. If it's not, get rid of it. Get rid of it. And sometimes it's hard to stop thinking what you're thinking. So you can do things to disrupt that. You can try to think of something else instead. If you can't think of something else instead, you can sing a song. It's hard to think of something else while you're singing a song. Well, maybe if you're in a yoga class, you can't sing a song, but you can think a song. Problem when you have ADHD is sometimes if you think of a song, it might be in your head for like 4 or 5 days. Have you ever had that happen where that just a certain song's in your mind? And I even had a couple weeks ago, I woke up to go to the bathroom during the night. The song was in my head right when I woke up. Then I went right back to sleep. Woke up in the morning, right in my head again. It's like, what is going on with my brain? Why is this song there? Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was the "Shallow" song that from "A Star Is Born." From Lady Gaga. But anyway, yeah, the songs just and they just come out of nowhere. Sometimes they don't come out of nowhere. I mean, that was one of the songs I played in my yoga class, but I probably played 100 different songs that week. So why that one, right? But anyway, so you can disrupt. You can disrupt this cycle, this process of thoughts. Thoughts that come up when you want to do something, when you are in a certain situation, when you're trying to be productive and you keep telling yourself it's not good enough, and then you can't finish because you have this perfection thing, and it's your own brain telling you something that's causing that perfection, that need for perfection, or telling you it's not good enough. That's what perfection is, right? It's the best. It's the best, 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 best way it could be. And if it's not that, it's not perfect. It's not right. Someone else is going to see it. It's really funny. It's really funny if you start to zone in and notice how you do that. Maybe you don't do it as much as I do, but it sure can get in the way of life. So, yeah. And just trying to recognize what you do for what it is. This is part of me. I'm doing the best I can. Might not look like it to everyone, but oh well, and and maybe you're not always doing the best I can. I can't always do my best. That could be another thought you have. Whatever thoughts you have to support yourself, think of yourself as a child that you're trying to help. And what would you say to them? Boost them up. Think of yourself as a friend. What would you say to them to boost them up? And when you have that compassion, it will help minimize those voices. But if your brain's wired to have those voices come in, you might just need to get into a habit of that. Oh, yeah. So, and the whole nervous system, when I was talking about the stress, the nervous system, am I in a better state to react to somebody calmly, say nicer words, to honk a horn at somebody in traffic, or just to take a few breaths and not be as aggressive? I, at some point, decided to only honk if someone's going to run into me, not to like punish the person that I think is doing something wrong. And that might sound silly to somebody, punish somebody. I mean, but if you've been out in traffic, you see people do that all the time, right? Lay their horns on people that they have no idea what's going on in their car and why they turned left when they did. Maybe they didn't see you, they're doing their best. But if somebody's about to run into me and I am trying to notify them, that's when I honk. Because otherwise I'm responsible for aggravating their nervous system. And maybe theirs is already wired high. I don't know, but I don't want to be responsible for that. So yeah. What else do I have? Just the idea is if you want to be motivated to do things that you want to do, if you want to have those modes in your life of motivation, get yourself to do things, the dopamine rewards, the yay, and the serotonin of now I'm in a groove and I'm doing this and I feel good. And you're not having, you think of those negative thoughts as kind of like poking you when you're like, I'm feeling good and I'm relaxed. And so I don't know if anybody pokes you, but when you have kids, sometimes you're calm, relaxed, reading a book, and you have, like someone bumps into you. Or I used to lay down at the end of the day when my kids were little, like, oh, I'm just going to lay down on the floor. And they'd think, oh, good. And they'd all run and jump on me. And I'm like, that is the opposite of relaxing. So I think of that as when you're giving yourself those negative messages, it is disrupting that. And you want to have the best great brain chemistry that you can with dopamine, serotonin to be able to have a joyful life, to be able to have a productive life, to be able to have somewhat of an organized life, to be able to hopefully go places when you need to, not be late that often or at all. That's something that it can be a challenge when you have ADHD for sure. And it can also help you focus better if you just tell yourself not to worry about the things, not just, there's real distractions like noise and what else you need to do, and there's ways to manage that. But if it's your own doubts getting in the way, then you can shift your focus away from that by adding a positive thought instead, or, giving yourself a reality check or breathing or whatever it is to help you out. I know we're always breathing, but breathing more calmly. But what are some outcomes from having more compassion? We know what it's just kind of the opposite of the outcomes of not having compassion, right? Fewer meltdowns. Like, do you ever have a meltdown of like, I can't believe this, or upset about something? I don't know. Meltdown sounds a little more like maybe a child, but you can have one. It could be emotional meltdown. It could be barely holding it together. Uh, all those things that are part of life, but you can prevent them by not feeling as critical. Like, it might be holidays are coming up. What is your expectation of yourself? What is your family's expectation of you for what you do to make the holidays nice? Is that something that you do? As women, that is something that we do. And if your turkey doesn't turn out like you want, all of those things that I've been dealing with the past few years. I think my legs are falling asleep. I gotta switch sitting. But all of those things can make it so we don't enjoy the whole reason for the season, whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. You have to not have the same expectation. Build your create your reality. I don't know if I'm completely getting off topic right now, but sometimes not have the expectation in the first place of what you need to do, and think I have to do it a certain way. That could be a pressure that you're getting. Maybe it's not a negative thing, like, why can't I do it? But I need to do it this way. I need to measure up. I need to do that. And if it's not working for you to jump that high, then maybe let everyone know, I'm not going to jump that high this year. We're going to do something different. Not jumping as high anymore, people. I'm not as young as I used to be. I can't even sit like this for very long. I wore my shoes while I sit on the floor. Those of you listening on audio, which is almost all of you, I sit on the floor. I'm gonna get on hands and knees while I finish, which is like what we do in yoga, but I need to move. So I'm not moving my face, so hopefully it doesn't mess up the sound as much. But yeah, yeah. I'm sure you can think. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you all the reasons for having uh, more compassionate, more compassion for yourself. That if you just notice when you don't have compassion for yourself, maybe that's happening already today, and give yourself some compassion right now. Tell yourself something that you do that's great. Be your biggest cheerleader and recognize your greatness. You probably don't know all of your greatness, and I only say that, I don't know if I'm older than a lot of you, I'm probably older than a lot of you, but maybe not. Um, you probably recognize a lot of your greatness, but you don't talk about it. Like, you know what you do really well, and you've lived long enough to know when you really feel like you're in this zone, what they call a zone of genius, or just a zone of happiness, where I'm just so joyful right now. I love to do this, and it's something that you're good at, and it's a skill, or just might not be a skill like, something that can be measured in a job, but it might be a skill that you have with other people or animals or plants or whatever it is. People are so different. Everyone has something that they're really great at, even if it's not recognized in the world as such. And you may recognize that and wonder, why is nobody else recognizing it? And maybe they do, but maybe you haven't given yourself an opportunity to do it enough to impact other people. And maybe you stop whatever it is that's stopping you. Stop whatever's stopping you. Notice that resistance and resist that resistance, and get yourself to do what you really feel like you can do to shine. Or maybe you just tell yourself what's wonderful about yourself. Maybe you have a really fabulous sense of humor and make yourself laugh all the time, and you have a few friends who laugh when they're with you all the time hysterically, but there are other people around you who don't laugh at anything you say, they don't get your sense of humor, and you might feel like, "Why am I not as funny as this person?" Maybe you're not trying to be funny, but you're just trying to have fun and no one's laughing, or what you're saying is falling flat. And I'm just raising my hand when I say this, 'cause sometimes this happens to me. But I do have a few people that when I'm around them, it's hilarious, and and sometimes I laugh at things that I find very, very clever, and I can just enjoy that with myself. Whatever brand of what I think is funny can be funny, I can appreciate that. I can enjoy it, and I can recognize it and give myself some props for it. And that might sound like a silly thing, but there might be things that you do that are really amazing that other people aren't recognizing, and you could just recognize it. You could just be the only one that gives you the gold medal for that and tells you, yeah, maybe there's 5 other people on the planet that do this too, but I can, and it's amazing that I do. You don't have to be the only person. You don't have to be the absolute best, but you can be amazing at it. And I think that's the thing, is we compare, compare, compare in the world, and we recognize this, and we give medals for that, and awards and Academy Awards and shows, and everyone's the best, and and then, we start to realize, am I like not doing anything with my life? No, you're doing something with your life, and you have amazing gifts, and cherish those, appreciate those. Tell yourself, it's amazing that I do that. Even if it feels weird to talk to other people about it, or no one else is saying anything, you can still appreciate that and feel good about it. And there may be things that other people have told you that you didn't even know that you did, or you didn't even know was a gift. And it can be interesting to have what's it called? It's like a meeting. I only, okay, I'm not really a businessy person. I was a stay at home mom, and really just had conversations with friends, college, high school, grade school, moms. And then I worked full time. And did I ever have a part-time job? I guess in college and high school and stuff. But it wasn't until I started having more of an entrepreneurial brain of, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. And that can be part of your ADHD brain. Is to have these ideas and think, if other people are doing it, why can't I do it? I could have a podcast, I could do this, I could whatever. Seeing the possibilities. And you can have an idea. So this is where I learned this about feedback from other people, is a lot of times they see things that weren't necessarily your goals or your aims or how you saw it as structured, but they saw the impact, they saw the gift that you have. And so I guess it could go along with, with a business, you think of defining your niche. And I know some people say niche, but I'm gonna say niche because I like niche better. So you're defining your niche and you're thinking, what is my thing? What do I do? When I'm a yoga teacher, what is my thing? Or if you're a what are you doing? What is your job? What is your passion? I am a this or that or that. It doesn't have to be a money-making job. It could be service, it can be volunteer work, it could be helping out at a school, it could be within your own home. Whatever that is, how do you see yourself giving and your impact in that situation? Maybe it's I love to sew, and when I sew, I make quilts, and then I give quilts to people, and blah 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 blah. And you have an idea of what you do and what you do well, and what you want to do with it, or maybe you're still trying to figure it out. I kind of am still too. But at times when I've met with a couple different friends about this and getting this feedback, whatever that kind of meetings is that I can't even think of, you're getting this back and forth of she tells me what she's thinking of doing, and I say, I like that, and you could give that. We're sharing ideas. And then she tells me what I see as your gift when you teach is this, this, and this. Or someone would come up to me at the end of my class and say, I love your class because you're so nurturing. Like, did I ever think I'm going to become a nurturing teacher? No, no. But I was or is, I is, I am a nurturing teacher. I guess for some people, I love to play really, I love to play fun music in my classes too. So lately I've gotten a little, well, I wouldn't say a little feedback. You know how I said a negative comment can sound louder than the positive comments? I got some feedback last week on my music choices, and it can be lively, but sometimes it's peaceful. And I need to be myself when I teach. So that's just what I've decided. But anyway, um, but yeah, sometimes other people will teach you what your gifts are when they share with you what they see when you do things. And that can be helpful too. So having those kind of conversations with friends or relatives, and you can set that up however you want. In a business situation, that's why it seemed to come more natural with that kind of situation of this is what I'm thinking of doing, what I can offer. Well, what I see you offering and what I think you do great at is, so that came more naturally. Whereas if you're just with a friend, what do you think I'm good at? I mean, you could ask them that if that's what you want to pursue, or what, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. There's different situations. I guess you could suggest it at your next birthday party. But there's that tradition at birthday parties where everyone goes around the room and they say something nice about you. Sometimes you learn things about yourself that you or you hear things from people that you never ever thought they thought of you. And maybe there's some kind of gathering you could do with friends where you just give positive, uplifting support to each other like that. One game that I played once, I don't know if I shared it on here, but we were in a room of people, a room of women, and we all had a piece of paper and we wrote our names at the top of the paper. And then we passed it to the person on the left. And the next person wrote at the very bottom a sentence about me because I just read. So she can still see at the top, it's my name. And at the bottom, she writes a sentence about me. And then she folds that up so the next person doesn't see it. And then that person writes on that folded part and they fold it up. And I guess you could technically see what everyone sees. But to me, that's kind of like when you get a yearbook and everyone writes in the yearbook. I tended to see what other people wrote in people's yearbook. Like you don't want to copy and say, see you next year, have a great year, or whatever, you're a great friend. You try to, or even a wedding album or something, you don't want to write the same thing as everybody else. So here I am comparing again, but I'm also trying not to duplicate. But it's amazing to hear what people really think when they share with you because that doesn't happen all the time in life. You might hear negative things, you might sense negative things by how people respond to you. But when you're in a situation where they can give you positive feedback or they do come up, And like I teach yoga, so I do have people come up and tell me what they like about my classes, but every once in a while I like the woman with the music. And I've taught long enough that I've learned my music might not be for everybody. And some days you may come in, it might be more mellow. But for every person who wishes my music was more mellow, there are people who love that it's lively. So it's not like I'm trying to please everyone, but I'm trying to find something that I love that most of the people love too, that they enjoy, that so we can all enjoy class together. Anyway. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's it. I always write things at the beginning and I can never find it later. But, that's life. That's one of my things. I'm just going to say that's life. Whatever your little sentence can be to support yourself, that's life. I'm just doing what I can. I'm just waking up. Remember Tom Hanks in Sleepless in Seattle? Have you watched it as many times as I have? I just wake up and put each foot on the floor and put my shoes on. And I don't know if that's exactly what he said. I've seen that movie enough. I should know what he says. But Tom Hanks. Okay, I won't make you wait because then I'll have to look up the quote. But he just, like, what are you going to do? Well, I'm just going to wake up again and sit up out of bed, put my feet down, take one foot in we just go through life and do what we can and see what happens. Because sometimes we're surprised, sometimes we're frustrated. Yeah. Having a little more distance from what you do is helpful. Even when I teach balance poses in a yoga class, and we don't always stay up in tree pose, even if you've done tree pose a million times, if you're new to it, especially maybe not staying straight up or, without tipping over or whatever. And some days totally balanced, other days not. And getting frustrated with it will not help you be better balanced. It won't help you do tree pose better. So I just look at it as from a curiosity standpoint. I wonder how I'm going to do today because it is kind of interesting when you can do something physically, like you have the muscle structure, the bone structure, your body knows what to do. You're strong enough. You haven't been injured lately, all those things. But one day you step on your mat, something's going on in your mind, who knows what, and you don't do it right. You fall over, you can't hold it for anything. It's good to learn things like that because then you don't have expectations that just because you did something before, you're going to be able to do it again. And especially just because someone else can do it, that you should be able to do it too. But anyway, I think that is it. I think this has actually been a longer one. 58 minutes of recording. Oh my goodness. Thank you for listening and being here. And if you have to do this in 2 or 3 parts, thank you for making it to the end. I'm glad you were here, and I think I'm just gonna let it be there. I'm not gonna tell you anything fancy at the end because I can't think of anything. So take care, and I'll be back. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.